A.B.C.D. Art by Creative Design. Art education for all. Art education benefits all.
Welcome everyone to Art by Creative Designs Forum as we go into talking the things. Right about now, it's my task to introduce our moderator for this afternoon session. And it's none other than Miss Alicia Psyche Haynes. It's a popular name, you know, and I'm so glad that she has been able to take the time to be with us. So let me share a little bit about Miss Haynes. Alicia Psyche Haynes is employed with the Ministry of Education and has been a drama, theatre arts teacher at Point Fortin West Secondary for the past 17 years. She has been performing for over 20 years and is an award-winning actress and director of the Secondary Schools Drama Festival. In 2014, she founded the performing arts organization West Spice Productions to further expose her students, past and present, to the educational and entertaining benefits of the theater. In 2018, she created a shared space for the arts called Studio 37, where a community of children actors, dancers, drummers, and musicians converge to be taught by some of the best Point Fortin tutors. Ms. Haynes holds a practitioner certificate in drama and theatre in education, a bachelor degree in media and communications, a postgraduate diploma with distinction in teaching visual and performing arts, and is currently completing a postgraduate diploma in arts and cultural management enterprise at the University of the West Indies. She is a founding member of the Faizabad Connection Theatre Company and the communications officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Best Village Association. Ms. Haynes is a proud resident of Point Fortin. Yes, so welcome everyone. And when we get back, I'm going to hand over to Ms. Haynes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to session 3 of Talking the Tings, the place where mouth does open and Tory does jump out about everything promoting arts education. I am your moderator for this evening, Alicia Psyche Haynes, and it brings me great pleasure to be here with the Arts by Creative Design team. Today's topic is See My Art, See Me. And our panel today is a powerhouse of experience, innovation, and creativity. First, we have Dr. Iezora Edwards, former teacher, lecturer, curriculum officer of the Ministry of Education within the Visual and Performing Arts Department. She's presently a coordinator and lecturer for the Postgraduate Diploma in Education program in Visual and Performing Arts at the School of Education, University of the West Indies. She has earned the title of Doctor of Philosophy in Cultural Studies and is an executive member of the Ivory Theatre Productions Limited, a writer and director of plays, and one film, Face Paint, which was screened at the 2018 Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. Iezora enjoys gardening, traveling, and spending time with her grandsons. Let's give her a round of applause. You can use the reactions button down below the Zoom settings to give Iezora a round of applause for her presence here today. Next, we have Mrs. Naomi Adonis-Woodsley. Mrs. Woodsley has been a teacher at Naparima Girls High School for almost 31 years. She teaches English literature, theatre arts, and communication studies, and is also the Dean of Sixth Form. She has served as a drama facilitator, judge, and motivational speaker over the years. She performed the role of convener at the CXC Theatre Arts Syllabus Rewriting Committee in 2012 and continues to serve on various panels for theatre arts workshops with the VAPA Curriculum Division, Ministry of Education. Additionally, she is the second vice president of the Secondary Schools Drama Association. Welcome, Mrs. Woodsley. And last on our panel, we have Mr. Yadav Mohip. Mr. Mohip is a Trinbagonian educator and musician and English major. He has worked in the field of education for over a decade and has been involved in musical projects across many genres. He is passionate about the role of art and media in effecting social change. His latest project, the Heights Room podcast, tackles social issues and is geared towards facilitating conversations on topics which are many times overlooked by Caribbean mainstream media. And I would like us to give a round of applause again for all our panelists who are here with us this evening. And getting right into it, that line I just read there for Mr. Mohip. He's passionate about the role of art and media in effecting social change. It takes us to the focus of our session today, the arts as a reflection of self and or society. And the first question we want to be able for us to discuss today, how is this evident in our cultural forms and products? Mr. Mohip, would you like to start us off?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, panel. Good afternoon, viewers. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. So, you all hearing me good and stuff?
Loud and clear, sir.
Right. So, the topic of reflection, or art reflecting society and art reflecting self, coming up through the secondary school system in Trinidad and then going into education and being a teacher in the secondary school system, it is paramount that, the arts would have had to become a major part of the curriculum, which it would not have been in years gone by. And then we saw the introduction of VAPA, right, as a major part of the curriculum. However, I see that if you were to run a survey, you would see that not every school takes the VAPA as serious as they should. I know of schools that don't even offer theater, right, in their curriculum, for whatever reasons. And it goes to show that we still don't place that importance on the arts in the education system, and that is to the detriment of the youth, because we all know at Trinidad, and when you look at the media, the Hollywood names you see in it, from the Billboard charts, the Hollywood names, you're seeing these people from Trinidad and Tobago background, okay, making waves, all right, because we as a people, we are dynamic, we are artistic, that is our thing, right? We know how to go on a stage and command attention, right? However, this is not reflected, I would say, as it should be within our young people, because of the fact that along the lines of the dissemination of the curriculum, for some reason, there is not that hands-on approach in every school. I mean, there are schools that do, work to another level. I am at Point Fortin East, by the way, so I realize I have a neighbor here. All right, and I've worked in different schools, and every school there's a bit of a difference in how they handle this, and I think that is something that causes this reflection of self, the way that children are able to express themselves through these different art forms, whether it be dance, theater, music, they need it. It's very important, and a lot of them can't access it, so that's why I will start off with, because I like to talk the things and get down to the meat of the matter one time.
Thank you very much, sir. And I like that. I like the fact that you raised the point about how it is in some schools, they don't even offer theater arts. Miss Edwards, I'd like to bring you in here. Being one of the people who was key to having VAPA being a compulsory subject within the secondary school system from Form 1 to Form 3, and also being a part of that process of getting that whole CAP program up and running within the primary schools. What are your views as well on the topic in terms of how art is a reflection of self and society, as well as taking into consideration what Mr. Mohip has just spoken about there in terms of how VAPA is still seen within the school system?
So I've been formally out of the education system for about 3 years. But in my time there, I'd like to say that I was not one of the sort of founding members. It was Victor Edwards, who laid a lot of the groundwork for theater in schools, and of course for the development of VAPA. In my stay at the ministry, I saw movement. I really did see movement in the 6 years I was there. It was a very slow movement, but I think there is an interest to develop the visual and performing arts. They are established subject areas in the VAPA. The staffing was improving, the DPED had started back again, all of those things. However, it's very, very slow, and it's still a real battle that is being fought to have the value of the visual and performing arts to students, as Yadav is saying, really appreciated by administration, by the rest of the staff, and by parents when it comes to students choosing the visual and performing arts subjects. In a strange way, once you have a school that has a good developed VAPA program, you have the students buying into it. And I'm sure Naomi is going to agree with me on that. The students buy into it, they want to do it. But sometimes they have to fight against so many forces in terms of choosing the subjects, especially in the high performing schools, if you want to call them that. So you have a number of forces sort of working against the progress that is being made. I know that I can speak from when I was inside the system, the curriculum officers, and there are many, many of our teachers who work really, really hard to keep the VAPA moving and to ensure that the students benefit from it. I also know that this is a relatively new area, especially theater arts, which is a combination of drama and dance, just started in 2003. So it's a relatively new subject area. What has happened since that time is the number of schools have grown, the number of teachers have therefore grown. There are many, many schools that have 2 theater arts teachers now, and that kind of thing. When, I have a lot of statistics I can quote, but it's growing. So the thing about the appreciation for Caribbean cultural forms and so on is also growing slowly, but it's growing. There are certain things that we were not aware of many, many years ago, and students are so aware of some of those forms now and taking pride and pleasure in the drumming and all of those things. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thank you very much. And Mrs. Woodsley, Ms. Edwards opened up the floor there for you too as well to join in. Your views?
Yes, good evening and thank you. just to jump off from what Iezora said there and what Mr. Mohip would have mentioned, the fact is we are seeing inroads being made, yeah? But what we find happening, and you can talk to anybody in the system and they will tell you that even in the schools where we have a fairly active VAPA program, at the upper level, the exam level, we still have to be competing with the traditional academic subjects for a space on the timetable. So with the arts, it's a constant negotiation, yeah, that we seem to be engaged in for the value of the work to be acknowledged. Yeah, we are saying, you know, see me, see my art, but I am not convinced that by and large the society, yeah, appreciates the value of the arts. The reality is arts and culture are intimately connected. Yeah, it is a culture that identifies a people. We still have pockets in a society that seem to be, I don't know if it's embarrassed by our cultural aspects, yeah? So you still have those notions as well as to what is acceptable and what is not, you know, the concept of high art and low art story. So there always seems to be a negotiation that we have to do. So we have a lot of work to do still to get the arts in that position where we don't have to be competing. We must see the arts and arts education as complementary. We must see arts education as vital to the success of many students. I mean, there's so much research, so many findings to prove that learning, especially for students who are not necessarily working at the same pace as everybody else, we have information to suggest that arts education can help those students to get there, you know? So we need to, I think, work much more concertedly. We need to have buy-in at every level, because even when you have students who have a desire to pursue the studies at exam level, you have other teachers in the system, in the schools right there, who are trying to discourage students. You hear all kind of stories, you know, from colleagues in different places where a child shows a real passion and an ability to perform well, and somebody else is telling a child what profit does have in doing that kind of thing, undermining the work. Then you have parents as well, yeah, who do not support the work. So I still think we have a long way to go. We are seeing, as Iezora said, it is slowly, and it has improved. It has improved radically, I would suggest, yeah. But there is quite a bit of way for us to go still.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Woodsley. And on that note, I believe we're going to take a very short break for a minute, and then we're going to come back on for a presentation. Are you ready to share your presentation?
So I just want to preface this while I'm setting it up to say that this was a sort of last minute insert that I did, I felt that if you're talking about see my art, see me, I just felt that something visual based on the work that I am involved in was necessary. I would have really liked to have more material in there and to make it more visually appealing, but I felt that I needed to get the information out. So here goes.
excellent presentation there. Excellent presentation. And it brings us right back to the focus of today's session, art as a reflection of self and society. Having seen that presentation, I mean, there is no doubt that what we do as a people, in terms of all of the performances that we just saw, we can see how it's reflective and how, how evident it is in our cultural forms. Yes? But my next question, however, and it ties back in to the points that the panelists and they have raised, how is this perspective, how is it relevant to our societal development, right? Who would like to start off that particular conversation first? Mr. Mohip?
Can I go ahead first?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize it.
But that's okay. Sorry, Yadav. And this is taking off on the compilation of photos, images there. And one of the things that moved me, and I was just reminded of it again today when I was putting together the pictures of the schools, the students. I mean, we are talking about education, and this was a project of by the Princeton Regional Corporation commemorating the naming of Princeton in 1880. My research showed that the history of Princeton went way beyond that. I mean, way before that. And it was about getting the schools in the area, primary and secondary, to understand the settled peoples of Princeton. And there were so many groups. And it sort of coincided with where the schools were located. And just Irie Theatre helped to coordinate and direct the whole production. And we had a lot of support. I tried to capture some of the support you had here to get things like this off the ground and to get it going. You have to have the vision of a few people who would, take the initiative. And this happened without any funding, I just want to say. But the schools and the teachers who worked with them, people were in tears and they were saying, this is my story coming alive. This is my history. This is where my grandmother, great-grandmother, whatever, would have walked to go to the market. And that's what made it so powerful when the schools themselves, when the students themselves did it, when the teachers themselves brought the history alive with the students. And I think that's what we are talking about today. And if we could have more projects like this in the community, somehow students, people, teachers and students, adults and students are going to see themselves in the written word, in the history, in what we are studying, we are supposed to be studying in school. When we think we're studying the story of other people, we really are studying the story of ourselves. And to have that in an experiential way played out in the ancestral space by the ancestral children. I mean, I think that's where we have to be. I really think that's where we have to be. And the visuals captured that day. These are just a few of the images, and the students wanted it again. We did it for 2 years, and then COVID hit. And that's what we have to be doing. A lot of that material there coincided with a good bit of the theater arts. You may have seen it as theater arts teachers. I showed the visual too, because so much of it is so artistic, even in the theater, in the Irie Theatre does aestheticized productions. So they want to show the story, the community stories, the local stories that are of global importance and that could be highlighted on a big stage like Broadway, as much as we could get Broadway here in Trinidad. Just like the big stories that you read about, our stories are important, and our children need to be helping to tell those stories.
Thank you very much for that, Mrs. Edwards. I mean, it really was mind-blowing being able to sit down and watch that. And I think what you have just described there really brings the entire thing into focus, right? So I'm going to go to Mr. Mohip, and then I'm going to come to Mrs. Woodsley. Based on what it is Ms. Edwards just described there in terms of the relevance and the importance of us bringing out that community work, how is that relevant to our societal development? Mr. Mohip?
Yeah, well, definitely it's relevant, you know, in that those images of all those children from the schools coming out and donning those roles, right? You know it, and getting in touch with the ancestral culture, as she said, you know, is something that is, you know, you can't put a price on that. And for us as, you know, post-colonial society to understand the journeys that we have gone through to reach where we are today, you know, through the theater arts, through literature, you know, these are the subjects where we can really confront this. So it's really human service when you see, as she said, no budget. You understand? No budget, and this is what is being put out. But I want to also touch on this issue of relevance too to development. So there's like a double-sided thing, and it's like flipping a coin. On one hand, we have the tradition, and on the next hand, we have modernity, which is what we're living in. And then we have COVID that struck. And the fact that now the actual physical space cannot be utilized, we cannot meet, we cannot greet, we cannot act. And we now have to ask ourselves, how do we bring it into this situation, this reality, this new normal? And what I would say is we also have to pay attention to the fact that we have to keep our eyes on what is happening on the ground with today's children, right? As much as we would like to, and we need to get them in touch with this history, get them in touch with our ancestry. We also have to understand that they're spending a lot of time on TikTok, right? And they're miming this and they're miming that, and they're doing a lot of theatrical things on the platform, all right? And that is where their time is going, and then what the kind of things that they might be mimicking is not really something that inherently Trinidadian, because a lot of what we see as Trinbagonian, a lot of what we see as relevant to the arts tends to be dated somewhat, you know, and we tend to forget that even when it comes to, because I'm a musician, and when I look at the musical climate with, you know, youths and the rise of the gunman music and so on, right, and how much that means to a big portion of the youths, and that is local. You know, it's not Jamaican, although it sounds like Jamaica. It's local, right? And the fact that that is the only music that is not carnival themed, which is gaining traction. It goes to say a lot about what we are what we have there for the youths to be privy to in order for them to put their energies behind, you know? So I think that when it comes to relevance, we still have a little way to go in order to catch the attention through and it starts with education. It starts with education, you know. The only way the youths are going to value the ancestry or value anything is through the education system, but the education system itself as well, and the artistic community as well has to realize that we need to probably up the ante a bit to capture the minds of the youths.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohip. Mrs. Woodsley?
Yes, very important discussion there, Yadav. The fact is, relevance is always a factor. One of the givens that we have embraced in the arts is that art reflects life. Yeah. So while we have to find some way of bringing, if you want, the modern aspects to attract the young people, we need to locate that within our cultural identity. Yeah, and that is the kind of basis that Iezora's the work that she showed us there, that's where that is grounded. Yeah. The interesting thing about the arts, I'm looking at theater in particular, the music too, is that we can use the arts to teach so many topics if you want. Yeah, cultural diversity being one. Yeah, we can teach histories through the arts, through all the different aspects of the arts. Yeah, it is important for us though to have that grounding, and I think this is one of the ways in one of the areas rather in which our education system in the West Indies, looking at Trinidad and Tobago in particular, where I think there has been a void. We have not placed enough emphasis on our history. We have not placed enough emphasis on our cultural identity, and I think it is so diverse. And that's the beauty of our life here in Trinidad and Tobago. We can't say any one thing is the culture. Yeah, the culture is dynamic. But our children must have that sense of place, must have that sense of past, if we are to embrace the present and even go into the future. So we have to use those very platforms, TikTok, yeah, Instagram, whatever. I'm not into the technology too much, sad to say. I'm still learning. But we have to use those platforms because that's where the young people are, to engage them. That's what we have to, that's the real challenge now. We have to use the platforms to engage them, but not cut out our past, not cut out our identity, because we must have a sense of who we are as a Trinidad and Tobagonian people. That is very important, and that's not something we really focus on enough. Yeah, I want to end what I want to say here with a quotation from Herder. All right, he says, "A nation has nothing more valuable than the language of its fathers. In it lives its entire spiritual treasury of tradition, history, religion, and principles of life, and its heart and soul." And that's what the art's about. Yeah, that's what our cultural identity is about. And that's why, if we have that grounding there, our children would not be so quick to turn their back on our music, to turn their back on our different cultural expressions. See our art, see us. We have to embrace that, because we have to embrace who we are as a unique people living in this, Western Hemisphere, living in this Caribbean, very diverse community. We have to embrace ourselves if we are to be true to this whole concept of see me, see my art, because my art reflects who I am. My art reflects my cultural identity. It's a serious business, and we have a whole lot of work to do, yeah, to get it right.
Thank you so much for that, Mrs. Woodsley. And on that note, we're going to take a very short break, and then we will return to the last section of this session. back. Thank you so very much so far to everyone who has joined us. I would like to let everyone know that right now there's a feedback form that's been placed in the chat. We need for you all to fill out that form for us before we close off today, so we can get feedback as to how we can improve and if there are any additional topics that you all would like us to discuss. All right. So far, some of the main points that we can pull out so far from the discussions. We spoke about the fact that there's not enough emphasis on our history. We spoke about the need for arts education to be relevant, the need to engage the community and attract the young people. We spoke about the need for them to have a sense of place, past, and for them to be able to look forward into the future. We spoke about the need for us to use the platforms the young people are currently using, the TikTok, the Facebook, the Instagram, in order for us to engage them and give them a sense of who we are as Trinidad and Tobagonians. Before we went to break, Mrs. Woodsley gave us a quote. I didn't get the entire thing, but a nation has nothing more valuable than the knowledge of its fathers. Powerful piece of writing there, right? We need to be able to remember the past in order for us to make better decisions in the present so we can secure the future for our young people going forward, who are going to be taking control of our country later on. And coming back to that point about us being able to be relevant and to attract and engage the young people, on this last section, we want to be able to talk about how viable is the arts and its importance to the pursuit of dreams. When it is we're trying to engage young people, just the same way as they may have in their mind that, you know, everything else may quickly lead them down a pathway of success and employment. How viable do we say to them is the arts and arts education? All right. Mrs. Edwards, would you like to start us off?
Right. My mic is on. The syllabus documents have a long list of career opportunities. I'm speaking for theater here, you know, that students can benefit from if they study theater arts. I'm not sure if I want to go into that because it's there in the syllabus document. I think that what we need at the tertiary level, yes, but also at the secondary level is much more research, research that our students can access, our teachers and our students can access, to be used in the classroom, as Naomi was mentioning, all of the various subject areas. So I definitely think that we need to have access to more research. It gives the heritage more value, so that the heritage elements don't remain on the sideline or on the ground or on the periphery. They need to be centered. Our heritage needs to be centered, and our students need to know that. I know that we come from a very checkered past in this, most post-colonial societies. Very difficult, very tangled and twisted in many cases. Our students, our children need to know that. They need to understand that. Their histories should not be relegated to one-liners in textbooks. And this is why the community theater and the community arts are so important. Our histories are not one-liners. The history of my people, of my ancestry, of yours, of everybody, not one-liners. So we need the research, and we need the research to be more relevant and more reachable to our students. Yes, I quite agree that we really have to tap into the technology that is available now, and that is the reality of our students to make this work more reachable. So you can have a whole lot of talk and a whole lot of opinions and so on. But as I said, we need to have informed information reaching people. I want to draw a reference to Angela Bissessing Virtual Museum of Trinidad and Tobago. That's a virtual museum. It's totally online. It's on Facebook, and you have all of these links that takes you into places that, you know, and it's growing exponentially. I would advise everybody on this chat here to join the ABVMOT, right? What you have there is an exposure, and I would call it the arts, because photography is an art. Photography is a very, very important heritage art that that museum is able to tap into. And you join, and you, of course, it's a sort of like a wiki situation where you could add your histories to it. They get highlighted, they get discussed, and so on. So, you know, it's a controlled space. So it's not heavy research, but it's research that's relevant and informed. You know, so that's just one example. And I feel those are the channels we need to take. Yes, when we could get back into the physical space, we need to find ways of mingling the technology with the physical, with the research, with the all kinds of things. But where we are at the moment, the Angela Bissessing Museum is taking off because so many people are seeing themselves represented in that space, all kinds of people, and everybody's story has a place there. I'm not sure how what kind of age we look. I know there are a lot of old people there, but I'm not sure if young people could find a space in there, if you know what I mean. So, you know, but it's one place that I if I was still teaching, I would advise my students to join.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Mohip?
Yes. So, and yeah, I'd like to add the Angela Bissessing Virtual Museum is, you know, an invaluable resource. You know, it has, as she said, grown exponentially because when you look at it, you know, you're actually seeing, well, people see for the first time how High Street used to look back in the day, you know, and you're like, wait, that's how it used to be, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. You said, you know, dreams and so on. How relevant and in the pursuit of dreams, what do the arts offer the youngsters and the people and in education and all that? Media, just as Miss said, the photography, all these things. Today, it's so easy to be part of media, you know? It's so easy, like what we do in here right now, you'd have to be in a TV station long time. You understand? But we are able to do this now. And we have, and in terms of the, you know, when it comes to dreams, the sky is the limit. And we have not tapped into what really can be achieved with our creative pool because we don't even understand. I mean, the children know how powerful social media is, but the fact that they have these tools at their disposal, how do we now let them see that, okay, when it comes to viable in terms of paycheck, might not be looking to say, well, yeah, that is why they get the fight done, because everybody say, what are you doing that for? But at the same time, right now you're seeing how all over the world when something go viral, media is so powerful. And we cannot pigeonhole the creative talents we have and tell them, well, yeah, because in the past, you know, is like you had a dance for your dinner kind of thing, right? The scope is global now. This globalized world we live in, the scope is so big, and with whatever the art form is, right, the dreams can be achieved if it is that there are the networks and the facilities to foster something for the youth. And as I said, education is where it begins, but it goes into other programs, and we have a lot of you know, government-run agencies that do a lot of good work, but as I said, and we all know, we have to keep it, the wheel turning, because the potential is there. The amount of talent we have with the young people, it is mind-blowing. But it's really to channel it and let them know how this could bring you something more than just a few likes,
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohip. Mrs. Woodsley?
Yes, I endorse everything Yadav just said there, because I am, as he's talking, my mind is going back to the start of the first lockdown last year. And for me, the most awesome concert experience was the first show. I think it was Second Star had that. And I am thinking, look at the entrepreneurship. I'm thinking, look at the opportunity. So really it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. Like I was sharing with another colleague from Antigua yesterday. I have been quoting Charles Dickens's Hard Times to my students. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, but that's what we're living in with this pandemic. But the opportunities available for the artists are immeasurable. If we think of all these versus concerts that many of the popular American stars, singers and stuff have been having, nothing is stopping our performers from going that road. Yeah? So whereas in the past, in the traditional kind of setting, we would have said you couldn't really have a life as an artist because you weren't going to be making any sort of money. Now with the internet and the global stage, the opportunities are varied. Yeah, the opportunities are immeasurable. And I am saying that those who have that potential, those who have someone with that technological know-how who could guide them into monetizing these performances, these shows, I think the opportunities and the possibilities are endless for our young performers. Yeah?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. I would so love to be able to continue this particular conversation with our panelists. However, we have gotten to the point where we will have to say goodbye. So before we give our closing remarks, we want to be able to remind all our audience members to please fill out the feedback form. It's there in the chat, just click on it and please fill it out so that we know how to improve going further, right? At this point, we would like to say a special thank you to our collaborators for our sessions, the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools is their 28th Biennial Conference, and the theme for this year is Breaking Barriers, Transitioning Beyond the Norm. We'd also like to say thank you to Restore a Sense of I Can, RSC. They are the secretariat and provider of the platform being used for the conference. And also a special thank you to Golden Hats, who are also celebrating 28 years of Pan excellence. We would like persons to remember arts education for all. Arts education benefits all. We'd like to encourage persons to visit the A.B.C.D's website at www.artbycreativedesign.org. That is www.artbycreativedesign.org, and follow Art by Creative Design on Instagram and on Facebook. We would like to give a special thank you to our panelists, Mrs. Iezora Edwards, Mrs. Naomi Adonis-Woodsley, and Mr. Yadav Mohip. So on that note, we bid you all farewell. Please do take care and keep safe. Good evening, everyone.
When we say love, when we say love, when we say love, we mean unconditional love. When we say love.
A.B.C.D. Art by Creative Design. Art education for all. Art education benefits all.